Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. Hope everybody's doing well. Wait, I believe everybody's doing well. I have faith everybody's doing well, and everything is unfolding perfectly. I am excited yet again. I'm always excited. You know that. Because why? Because I love speaking with and having dialogues with extraordinary people from around the world. And today is no exception. I have Justin Rambo here today. And before he tells you anything about himself, I'm going to tell you a bit about him. So listen up. You don't want to miss any of this. This is amazing. Justin Rambo is a personal development coach. In his youth, Justin had an explosive temper, which normally landed him in trouble. Dealing with self-doubt and an inferiority complex, graduating high school with a 1 point something GPA, having his first child, and dropping out of college twice by the age of 21. Failed relationships, multiple car repossessions, and piling up over 6 figures in debt. The odds were stacked against him. By age 26, Justin succeeded in his third attempt in college and earned his bachelor's degree. By age 28, Justin opened his first business. That was in 2013. In 2014, Justin was introduced to personal development. From there, his life began to change. In 2019, Justin formed Versatile Success LLC, launched the Versatile Success podcast, and wrote the book, Turn Down the Noise. In 2020, Justin created his signature personal development program called Lost and Found. This program has gone on to change countless lives. Justin wants to share, help, and teach you about the power of personal development and how it will positively change your life. Wow. How are you doing today, Justin?
Well, Luke, first, I want to say thank you for having me. It's an honor. And as I always say, I love being on this side of podcasting. I like this part of it. I don't know why, right? I'm a host as well, but I like this part of it. So definitely thank you for having me on. And man, things are going good and things are rolling.
Right, man. You know what? I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you, because I'm a firm believer that time is one of our most precious assets. And for you to choose to spend some of your time here with me, I appreciate that, man. We're creating history today, and wow, it's amazing.
Definitely.
So let's just get right into it, man. Now, you know what? At first, I have to say something. I resonate with, and I don't really want to elaborate on this, but I have to. I have to say something about it. About you saying you had an explosive temper and all. I've struggled with that for a long time throughout my life. I don't want to place any blame, but that type of energy was prevalent under my roof in my home growing up, And so what I want to know is, first of all, how have you dealt with that, and how'd you help it? How did it subside? I mean, what'd you do?
It's funny. So I had a conversation with a lady who was at a speaking engagement that I was speaking at. She was in the audience, and
Right.
This was about 3 weeks ago. So I talked to her 2 weeks ago. She reached out to me on social media, and she was like, I love what you had to say, but when you told me you had a temper, I could never tell. And she was like, your voice was calming, like how you talk is calm. And I said, that's interesting, because anyone that knows me from when I was born until about high school, after high school, they would say, okay, he was an athlete and he had a temper. Anyone after that is like, no, he doesn't. And so for me, it was, when I was younger, I would just get really angry if something happened at the drop of a dime, like a hair trigger temper. And that would lead me to like throwing things and destroying things and things like that. And it never led to anything good. And so I got tired of that pattern, but I couldn't figure out what was going on and why it was happening. And so as I had gotten older, right, you move past high school. Well, now you're an adult, and a lot of that stuff doesn't fly. You can get in a lot of trouble when you fly off the handle.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't only affect you, but it affects all the individuals around you, your loved ones, your family, your friends. And so I had to take a hard look at myself and said, you know what? Whether or not someone may have triggered it, whether or not it was an event that triggered it, I'm still the common denominator. And so let me take a look at Justin Rambo and figure out what's going on. And so over the years, what I've realized is, A, I had to take a second to pause before I actually reacted. And so that one split second allowed me to think. And since it allowed me to think, it allowed me to say, okay, what do I want the outcome to be in this situation? And so to project my thought into the long term, saying, hey, the outcome, if I were to react how I normally would react, would be terrible. And I would feel bad afterwards. But I can get a better outcome if I react in a more positive way, or at least a more structured way, or a more processed way. And so that it's a long journey. I know I made it sound short, but that took about probably, since I can remember, until about my mid to late 20s. Late 20s is when it really started to subside, or at least what I would say is I've been able to manage it. And so one of the keys, though, and what I want everyone to pay attention to is this: the things that you think are negative about you and the things you think that are positive about you, within those things, you have the opposites as well. So just to give you an example, okay, the temper. I always got in trouble. People knew me for having a temper. So let me dig into it. Okay, there's a lot of energy in that temper. There's a lot of passion in that temper. There's a lot of focus in that temper. When I was angry, I would try to get my point across to that person, locked in, focused. Oh, so now I'm realizing I can be hyper focused on something if I really wanted to. I can grab attention if I really wanted to. I can command a room if I really wanted to. And within that passion, that fiery passion, when people see me angry, there's also a piece of charisma, how I move, how I talk. So instead of using it for a negative way, I'm going to take that same energy and repurpose it into something positive. And I realized those things that were, I thought, were negative, take pieces of it that were positive, and you can use it to your strength. So the same way, right, for anyone that's watching, they see me moving with my hands and my facial expressions. It's the same thing I did when I was angry.
Right.
So now I'm using it to my advantage. And so, yeah, it's just been one of those journeys, but it's part of my story.
Right. And I thank you, Justin, for sharing that. And the reason why I thought that was important, and I'm glad you elaborated the way you did, because a lot of people have that problem. I mean, I've encountered in my circumstances and in scenarios, I've encountered a lot of people at work, people on the road. They quick temper. You cut somebody off, somebody wants to stick their arm out or try to do something to you, and it's very important. Just that split second right there, you can cause an accident, or something, cause somebody to get hurt, or even cause the death of somebody because of your anger, and you're not thinking right, you're not focusing, like you said. I like the way you put that, man. Basically, from what I gathered from what you said, is you're harnessing that energy. And another person, and not to compare you at all, but that I listen to him speak often, is 50 Cent. And he's always talking about harnessing that energy and repurposing it. Yeah, he even has one of these sayings that he says that that stands out to me. He says, I need you to hate me so I can use you for your energy. And man, I'm like, wow. And it's like, I get it now. And years ago, I wouldn't have gotten that, if I wouldn't have started working on myself and personal development, and what I like to consider self-empowerment. Before I wasn't empowered. I felt like that I was dependent on other people, other things, and this pastor, to be the power in my life. I wasn't aware that I can empower myself, So
Self-awareness.
Yes, that's amazing, man. And that's why I'm attracting amazing people like you, and that's amazing. So let's just keep it moving, man. So how did you become, we'll start from the top. How did you become a personal development coach? I mean, can you let us in a little bit more on that?
Man, it's all right. So this is a crazy story. All right. And so in 2014, that's when I had my first business. It was a brick and mortar personal training studio. right? So everyone that knew me, they knew me from sports, and that naturally transitioned into fitness. And so I opened my first brick and mortar studio in the same town or the same suburb that I was the top athlete in, years prior to in high school. And so from the outside looking in, people are like, okay, he's doing a lot better. And by that time, I had my third stint in college and I had graduated and I'm opening a business. So everyone's like, oh, he's doing really good. So on the outside, everything looked good, but on the inside, everything was falling apart. And what I realized is, okay, I was still going through issues. So I have my two oldest daughters are from my previous relationship. And so back then they were young and we were going back and forth to court. We were arguing, weren't getting along. And then I had a girlfriend who was not my wife. So I had that whole blended family situation and then a new business. And it looks like things are going good on the outside, but I'm losing money, having car repossession issues, just a bunch of things going on. And so I said, okay, again, these things are happening, but what's the common denominator? Me.
Right.
So
Right.
one day I went to a convention about ironically, about how to make more money in business. And the guy who was speaking was homeless. He became a multimillionaire, but he didn't
Wow.
mention money. One time during the speech, he kept talking about personal development. And I said, man, what is personal development? Like, do I go to a vending machine? Do I press a button to get personal development snack bars? I don't know what personal development is, but it's intriguing. And so I left the convention and I started digging into personal development, figuring out what it was. And I realized, oh, self-awareness, understanding yourself.
Right.
Hmm,
Right.
here's something I never connected. People always come to me for life advice. Why? They've always called me an old soul. Why? And then the light bulb started going off. Let me really work on myself. Let me be my first student. So from 2014 to 2018, I really took a hard, deep dive into who I was, my past, some of the emotional issues, the traumas, all those things, and the good and the bad. In 2018, I finally felt like I had my footing. I knew who Justin Rambo was outside of being a husband, a father, outside of being an athlete or a business owner. Like, who was Justin Rambo at the foundation?
Right. Right.
And so,
Right.
yeah, yep. And so 2019, I said, let me take it a step further. What would happen if I eliminated all my distractions? Because I know who I am now, but now what do I do with that? And so I made it a point early 2019. I said, I'm going to get off of social media. I'm going to stop watching TV and I'm stop listening to music. I'm only
Right.
going to fill my brain with the things I need, substance. And I thought it would take me about a year to figure it out. But since I had no distractions, February 25th, 2019, which is a Monday, at the time I was working a 9 to 5. So I get home early from work and the wife is at work. Kids are still at school. It's a snowy day because I was in upstate New York at the time.
Right.
I start reading a self-help book. And then all of a sudden I had what I call a D day, download day.
Right.
Everything that I should be doing, how I should be doing it, it came to me in an instant. So
Wow.
you need to make Versatile Success. You need the personal development company. You need to write a book. You need to start a podcast. All those things flashed at me. So by the end of the night, I had my business logo, I had my LLC and EIN completed. Now,
Wow.
that's not to say everything was smooth,
Right.
but
Right.
the one thing I really want to harp on is the fact that since I had no distractions, I realized the answers I was seeking were already in front of me. I was just too distracted to see it.
To see it. Right.
So, yep. So once I eliminated all the distractions, it was like, hello, people have always come to you for life advice. You've been working on yourself. You know what you should be doing,
You
right? You
basically
know
got
that
out of your own way.
got out of my own way. And for a lot of us, we don't realize we're in our own way,
Right.
but we're just too distracted by everything else to see it. So I call it like a radio frequency. You turn the dial on the volume button and you hear some static. You're like, well, what is that? I don't know what that is. You turn it a little bit more to a different station, starting to hear some words now, turn a little bit
Right.
more. You're starting to make out some sentences, but not like a clear, fluid conversation. You hit the right signal, boom, you get all the information. So that's literally what happened to me. And that's how I came up with Versatile Success. But when it came to writing the book, I was hesitant and I was like, yeah, I graduated high school with a 1 point something GPA. Like those thoughts came back
Right.
and I wasn't good in English. And I said, you know what? Let me just interview people that locally are successful and tell their story. Let me just do that. And
Right.
something was like, no, you write the book. I know myself, but let me figure out how I operate best. And since I figured out how I operate, what I ended up doing was I created my outline.
Okay.
And I wrote the book in 6 weeks.
Wow.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Now, it took me a year to publish, but I wrote 6 weeks. Yep.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm just checking something real quick. I'm gonna have to edit this video too, because I don't know if my internet is unstable or what, because it keeps cutting in and out.
Yeah, you froze for a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here, but anyway, we'll keep it moving. But yeah, a lot of what you said, man, it's just, and I couldn't make this up, but a lot of that, your story, just a little bit that you shared, man, seems like you're talking about me. I mean, I'm talking about the court, the baby mama drama, all that stuff, man.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm finding out. Oftentimes it takes things like that to happen for us to turn and look within and to just evolve, almost like a seed that's been planted in the dirt, in the soil. It's like, that's how I look at it now. So, man, and what I like to call transformation and awakening happened about 5 years ago, and that's when I really started working on myself. And that's when I said the same thing. I said, let me stop blaming this woman, this person, that. What's the common denominator in this? Me. So some kind of way that I'm thinking, projecting energy or whatever, attract the people I'm attracting in my life, everything. I start taking responsibility for that. And not saying that people can't do us wrong and all that. I understand that. But me focusing on that, and I'm sure you know that, is not going to change or help anything. All we can do is fix this right here. And
yeah, listen, and I want to say this, if you don't mind. So
no, go ahead.
As I said, we're going through the court battles, custody, all those things, and we really did not get along. It was terrible.
Right.
And back then I told you I lived in upstate New York. Now, before you and I got on, you said, where are you located? I said, I'm in Tampa now. Now you would know it's hard. You can't just move and take one of the, the children from what? So I'm here. My wife is here. Our kids are here.
Right.
My 2 daughters from our previous relationship is here. And my ex, we all moved down. We hang out. We watch football on Sundays. We go to the beach sometime. Everybody. And so I'm saying that to say this is when you work on yourself,
right?
Like you said, you have a seed and it grows. Now, when it grows, you have fruit. And so when you work on yourself, it touches every area of your life. And that's the beauty of personal development.
Right. And that's one of the things I like to say too, when I talk about anything, abundance and success. I always use the words in all areas of my life. So that's amazing. And it's not a coincidence you're saying that, but that's amazing that you work on yourself. And a lot of people don't get that. And I'm glad you're, elaborating on that, because it seems kind of weird at first. You say, okay, so I'm going to change these outside situations by working here. Yes, things will change. The energy you project, the way you interpret things, what you allow to, bother you or whatever it is. But another thing that I liked what you said, man, and it stood out, and it was how you are. And I listened to this guy named who was a reverend back in the day, but he speaks in an esoteric way about the Bible in law of attraction type way. And he spoke about be careful. He said, and you remind me of him, he said that your mind is gonna feed no matter what. So you gotta feed it, or somebody else is gonna feed it. So then the point I'm getting to is like when you said, you cut the television out. I've done that. I monitor really, I watch a lot of cooking shows and I watch sports. I love sports. But other than that, sometimes I'll slip up, but I really watch what I what I allow, what I like to call my gate, which is my conscious mind, into my subconscious mind. So I'm really watching it. And you know what? I'm going to take this moment to advertise myself just a little bit to you, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
You spoke about music. I don't know if you really looked into me in my profile on YouTube, but I create what I call self-entitled self-empowerment hip hop music. So yeah, the music that I create, it's like a positive affirmation. So check it out, man.
That's perfect.
That's what I.
And so I'm glad you said that. I want to elaborate on that too,
Go ahead,
because what we're talking about in terms of like what you take in is going to really affect you.
Right.
The reason I had to stop listening to it, was because of that situation. Right. I didn't want to take things that would be considered negative when I'm trying to grow. But B, the dead times, the dead spaces in our lives, when we're driving to work, when we're taking a shower, or when we're getting ready for work, all those times, we literally we just listen to music. So we're putting that stuff into our subconscious. So I said, let me replace that and put positive things into my subconscious. So things like positive affirmations or motivational hip hop art, all those things, I 100% agree. And I thank you for doing that, because that's really important.
Right. Yeah, it took a while because I didn't start out that way. But this is not about me today, but I'll give you just a little short version of it. The music that I was creating prior, I could see a connection with how things were going in my life from the lyrics I kept, speaking out with passion and listening to with passion. I'm like, yeah, I'm bringing a lot of toxicity into my life because of what I'm speaking. Words have power. I didn't know that before, and yeah, that's why a lot of people, and I don't want to turn this into that, but that's why we have to be careful of the songs we listen to, because a lot of times we feel it. And then we're saying what, repeating these words, mimicking. And it's like, you got to be careful what you're mimicking, and especially saying with feeling, because you're drawing that into yourself, So
it's the same thing with social media.
Right.
Listen, I had a client I was working with, and we were talking about, he wanted to try a project or something like that. I said, okay, well, say it on Facebook, talk on Facebook. He's like, oh, everyone on Facebook is bad. Everyone talks negative. I'm like, oh, who are you following on Facebook? Because I don't see that.
Me neither. So, go ahead.
I don't see that. So I always say, you have to monitor your digital world, because we're connected to stuff digitally, right? And so I tell people all the time, if you really want to make a change, the first thing you need to do is understand your environment. And the physical environment is the last thing to actually probably change, because it takes actual money. You got to move. But your digital environment, who you following, who you watching, and a lot of us are on social media. And so you can change that part of it, because his world, that client at first was all negative because of social media and who he was following, who he was listening to, who he was around on social media. But in my world, it wasn't like that. But we were on the same platform. And so that was one of his homework assignments. You might have to just unfollow a lot of different people. You don't have to, let's say delete them because you want them to see your positive message, but you can unfollow them and follow the ones that are going to help you and push you and motivate you.
Right. No, you're right about that, because I had a similar conversation as well. And when I go on my social media, whatever, I see encouraging posts all over. I really rarely see anything negative. And when I do, then I take the initiative to, like you said, unfollow that or remove it or whatever it might be. If I see anything that's really negative, that just highlights that person. And I might look deeper and say, okay, well, why are they even here anyway?
Right.
Or, do they need, like you said, I ponder that. Do they need to be exposed to what I'm trying to, my intentions and what I'm sharing out there, that maybe it will help. But other than that, man, I don't see too many, of those negative energy draining things on my platforms, on social media. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too, man, because that's another great point, man, for everyone. So also, okay, so your business. So now you have Versatile Success LLC. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so the Versatile Success LLC, it's a personal development company. But the reason I titled it Versatile Success LLC is A, because it came to me. That's the name that came to me.
Right.
So I had to think about, okay, well, why that name? Okay. Well, with personal development, it's personal. Everyone's different. Everyone's an individual and everyone's unique. And so that means that you and I can be going for the same thing and striving for the same thing in life, but I don't have to do it like you. You don't have to do it like me, because you do it like you and I do it like myself, which is very versatile, right? And
Right.
so success as well is self-defining. Your version of success may mean something totally different than mine. And so we can reach our own version of success, how we do it based on who we are. So the name Versatile Success came about.
Wow. Amazing. And that reminds me of something else. See, things just flow and it's not coincidental. Um, it might be a bit different, but it still reminds me of the saying, you know, your truth. You find your truth, you know, which what you were saying, you do it how you do it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Because basically whatever you passionately believe in, that's what it is, you know. So
Yep.
yeah, whatever
And
you
there's no one
focus.
way. Listen, I
Right.
tell people all the time, there's no one way um to reach whatever you're trying to reach. Right.
Right.
So if I want to drive to you, I'm in Tampa, Florida. And if I want to drive to California, I know the end destination, but I can take multiple ways. Some ways may take longer, ways may not take as long,
Right.
but it's very versatile. Right. And so
Yes. Right.
I just want to tell us to anyone, because what we see a lot of times in our industry is we see um, uh, copycatters or people that just spit the same information, or they're trying to do it like someone else is already doing it.
Right.
And what happens is they themselves, I don't want to use the word fail, but they don't get the result they're looking for. And since they don't get
Right.
the result they're looking for, they say, "Oh, I'm not good enough. I failed. No one's listening to me." But
Right.
did you do it and use your own superpowers? Did you do it and operate from your own zone of genius? Because if
Right.
you try to operate from someone else's zone of genius, you don't know what superpowers that person has. You don't know what they've been through. And so you
Right.
can do it your own way.
Right.
And
Wow.
people will ask me all the time. They'll say, "Hey,
Yeah.
you're a motivational speaker." I said, "No, not really, but I'm a motivational teacher. I teach when I speak." And so I remember, I'll never forget this. The first time I wanted to get on camera and talk, because I started Versatile Success. I'm like, man, people need to hear about personal development, which means I need to actually speak and be on camera. Well, I had never been on camera before that. When I had the brick and mortar personal training studio, I wasn't on camera. I was too scared to be on camera. I talk too fast. My lips are big. I stutter. I'm like, I'm not going on camera. And so you would never see me. And
Oh
so, like I
man.
said, the download day happened. And something was like, you need to start talking. You need to start talking on camera. And
Right.
so understanding how you operate your own process, I was like, okay, I know when I'm faced with adversity, I have to actually face it. And so I know that, but through just my years of being me, right? So the first time I ever had to draw blood, I had to watch the needle go on my arm because it was bigger than what I thought it was. I didn't know it was going to be that big. You can see the inside of the hole. So I had to face adversity. And so I said, all right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my phone out and I'm going to record myself so I can get used to seeing myself and hearing my voice. And I knew if I did that enough, I would get used to it. So I'm trying to record myself at this time. And I'm like, I couldn't get like 3 words out
Right.
because I was trying to sound like people I was listening to.
Right.
So I said,
I
no,
get it.
no, 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 no. Operate how you operate. And so that became better. So I got used to seeing myself, right?
Right.
So the next phase for me was to show my wife. I wanted to show my wife, hey, look what I've been doing. Because I knew I needed someone else to see it. So I got comfortable. And you think, your wife is like your mom. She's going to be like, oh, that's good. Keep going. So I
Right.
showed her and she's like, well, what is that? I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
It
I
doesn't.
knew I had to keep showing her. And
Right.
she got used to it. Okay. Next thing to do is I'm going to start putting videos on social media. Now,
Right.
that was scary for me because people only knew me from fitness and training. Like this personal development thing was new to them. Like I said, I had been off of social media for a while.
Right.
So I started putting videos on social media. I got used to that. So the next
Right.
thing was, okay, let me start going live on social media. And that was terrible. The first time, I don't know what I said. I
Right.
just started
Right.
vomiting out the mouth, but I kept doing it. And
Right.
then about a month or 2 after that, the local news called me and said, hey, we want you to do a live 5-minute segment tomorrow morning. I
Wow.
was ready. I was prepared.
Yes.
And I kept putting in the reps. And then lo and behold, some people asked me to speak at their events. I kept putting in the reps. And
That's
so
amazing.
it's just knowing how you operate. But the key to that is, like I said, when I first started, I tried to sound like everybody else.
Right.
But when you know yourself, you understand your operating system and how you operate best. I'm a short bullet point type of person. I play
Right.
running back, right? Short burst. I was a sprinter, short burst. Usually when I talk, short burst.
Right.
And my videos are no longer than 30 seconds to a minute because that's
Right.
how I operate best. I couldn't
Right.
sound like Eric Thomas or Ed Milet or all these other, Jim Rohn. I had to sound like me and do it my way because I had to walk out what my company is about and what I'm about.
Wow, man, it's amazing. And again, man, you part of your story sounds like me again, because I was afraid for the longest time to get in front of camera, and I started um, going on other people's shows, and even they knew because they were giving me feedback, which let me know that they knew that I was uncomfortable. They were saying, "Oh, you're doing better this time," and this, So that's how I know that they could see right through me. I was trying to come across like, yeah, I got this, but no, it's just something about when that camera came on is
Yeah. Yep.
and I'd forget everything I had to say. That
Yep.
I'd rehearse things, and next thing you know, yeah, I couldn't. I was getting in my own
Oh,
way,
I'm with you. I
slipping over
trust me.
my
I'm with you.
feet.
Yeah.
But I kept doing it, and then, like you said, I said, you know what? Even when I developed this, came up with the idea for the show, I was a bit nervous. I was like, you know what? But forget it. I'm gonna do it. I'm
Yeah.
just keep doing it. I want to talk to people. I want to learn. I want to just engage and have high vibrational conversations with people from everywhere, especially during these times. That's where it came. Where this developed was because of the
How long you
lockdowns
been
and
doing
all
the
that.
show?
How long? Just since the beginning of this year.
All right. So I want to
Around
point out something. I want to commend you because
right,
what you did is you created the environment you needed to.
right,
Right. And so as you said, have conversations with people that are vibrating at a higher frequency. A
right.
lot of us say, hey, I don't know anyone that's thinking like me. I don't know anyone that's doing what I want to do. You can create it, which is exactly what you did. You said, you know what? Maybe it's a subconscious thing. I don't know. But you said you created your environment that you needed. And that's a key that I want everyone to understand. So I commend you for that.
No, thank you, man. And there's another saying that I picked up, and I forgot who did I pick it up from, man. And I want to share it with you right now. And it's from I was listening to a segment by um, it might have been Joseph Murphy, but it says, "I attract those with the higher order of mind."
Mm-hmm.
That right there stood out to me. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm doing.
Right.
Higher order of mind. You know,
100%.
that means we're reaching towards our higher, highest self. You know, because a lot of people aren't even aware to do that. They just leave everything to chance. It just happens this way. This is just the way I am. This. And no, that
Life
was
is
the way
about
you
growth,
were.
man. Life is
Yeah.
about growth.
Growth. Yes. And continuous growth. And when you stop
Continuous.
growing, what happens?
Right.
You're not growing, you're dying. So amazing, man.
Yep.
So one more thing I wanted to ask you, and I want to talk about just a little bit. I don't want you to give all the juicy details away because I want people to go out and get it. But you wrote a book, Turn Down the Noise. Now, what inspired you to write that? And can you give us just a little bit, of dialogue in regards to that book,
Yeah. So the book Turn on the Noise is essentially my explaining what happened to me and how you
Oh,
can apply
okay.
it to your life in terms of blocking things out, understanding what your distractions are, both hidden and hidden in plain sight, how you can use mental saturation is what I call it to transform your mind or renew your mind.
Right.
And the cool part is at the end of every chapter, there's a worksheet and it accumulates. And so at
Right.
the end of the last chapter, you have a workable 30-day plan to go forward in life. And so the
Right.
book is literally a blueprint on how to eliminate your distractions, to start finding your passions and going forward and taking action with that.
Oh, okay. Amazing. Straight to the point. And where can people find this book?
And so the book is on Amazon. It's ebook, and you can get it in print copy or ebook and print
Okay.
copy.
And it's under your name, right?
Correct. Yep.
Justin
You can
Rambo.
go to Justin Rambo, or you can just go to Amazon and type "Turn Down the Noise." But I want to highlight this really quick. So this is separate from the book. This came after the book, but the Lost and Found program, right? So that's something. Yep, right there. There you go.
Okay, I'm
The cover.
ordering
So
this book right now while you're
appreciate it.
speaking. Go
Appreciate it.
ahead. I love
Appreciate
reading.
it.
I'm a voracious reader, man. I love reading.
Really.
I have a bookshelf upstairs in my room full of books, and I just love reading.
Yeah.
That's it. So hey,
Yeah. So it sounds like you're gonna write a book one day, huh?
yes.
There you go.
I'm getting in my own way in that regard, but that's a whole nother story. I need to get it out of my way and do it. You know,
Gotcha.
I just to give you a little short feedback to keep it real with you. I'm like, I got an order of the way I want to do things. Okay, after I'm finished with this, but I know I need to write it now. You know,
Yeah.
quit waiting until nothing's going to ever be perfect. So just do it. But go ahead. Sorry about that.
Literally just had a conversation with one of my good buddies, and he said he wants to write a book, but he doesn't know where to start.
Right.
For me, I told him what worked for me is I just created an outline first. I knew what chapters I wanted, 10 chapters on the outline, because for me, since I have an outline, then I have something that I can build, and that helped push me forward. So yeah, but like I was saying, so what I boiled everything down to and how I help people, and then with my coaching, is I use something called my FSGT method.
Okay.
So that's foundation, growth, strength, or you can say superpowers, and then traits. And the reason I came up with that is because people were saying, "Hey, Rambo, you changed, but like you changed for the better. How'd you do it? What happened?" And you know, like yourself, when you grow, it's hard to really explain like your process.
Right.
So I had to really think like, okay, well, what did I do? What were my steps? Okay, the first thing was I found myself. Like I found, like I said, who Justin Rambo really is.
Right.
You remove all the titles, all the words, all the accolades. I found that. And so that allowed me to find my superpowers, right? What I'm really good at, what I'm really gifted in, how I operate best. Yeah. Yep. But then here's the part that I feel like people get hung up on. I had that. And then it was like, okay, what did I do next? I set goals based on my superpowers, which are tied to my foundation. So everything I was doing was coming from who I actually am now. And so that's why you can see all, the stuff that's going on now. But then there was a fourth piece. I was like, okay, something's missing. I had to have something that like tied everything together. And I realized I had to have certain traits to not only sustain the goals that I was going for, but also sustain me as a person. So the traits were the glue that binded everything up. And so I said, okay, I got my method. So then I started implementing it with my coaching clients. I said, you know what? I got to put this into a program. So then I got a big group of people together, and I said, I'm going to call this program called Lost and Found, right? Lost and Found. Makes sense, right? I was lost at one point, and now I'm found.
I like that.
And so I got this group together, and man, the response of it was a 5-week program. The response and the mindset shifts and the transformations they had was astounding to me, because it's like the first time I tested my method on a big group. And so I knew I had something there, but then this was the kicker. I got my sister to do it. Now my sister is 2 years older, right? So she ain't gonna listen to her younger brother too much.
Right.
But I convinced her.
I get it.
Yeah, I convinced her. And after the program, she told me something I didn't realize. She's like, this is the first time I believe in myself. I said, what? I was like, yeah, this is the first time I believe in myself. And she said, not only that, usually when you take a course, or someone in your family or relative is a teacher and you take their class, you look at them as the relative or the friend. You don't ever look at them as a teacher or the instructor. She said the entire program, I looked at you as my coach because of like what you taught in the transformation. And so that was like, that was all the credit I needed right there.
Amazing.
All the credit I needed. And so I put it into a course called Lost and Found. It's a 5-week course. It takes you through the foundation, which is the F part. The S part helps you uncover your strengths and superpowers, and then helps you set some goals and the traits you need. And at the end of it, you have a 30-day plan, because what I believe is a lot of time, well, humans in general, we have to do something, right? And if you're not producing something in life, if you're not really moving forward, I call that physical purgatory, which means you feel like you're stuck. And so my goal is to help you obviously get unstuck, but based on who you are and not who you think the world says you are, not who your parents want you to be, not who your teachers want you to be. It's based on you, and move from that tree. So then you can have your fruit. You know what I mean? So that's what the whole Lost and Found program is about.
Wow, man. Wow, well orchestrated, man. Yes, that's amazing, man. And that and years ago, you wouldn't have even thought that you would be even working within these
Right.
realms and creating these things. I know it.
Yep.
I know it, man. It's
Yep.
amazing. And by the way, yes, I already placed the order
Appreciate it.
for your book. So
There we go.
It's going to be here Saturday.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
I look forward to reading it, man. Yep. So yeah.
I have another one coming out next year, so I'm excited about that one.
Okay.
In the beginning stages, but yeah, it's just it's a journey, but it's all based on who I am and operating my superpower, my strength. So everything feels organic, natural, and it's just moving forward along the right way.
Right. Organic, natural, authentic. And you know what? I just have to say one more thing. Yeah, I listen to a lot of people, and at first when I was trying to figure out who I am, and especially on like social media presence and things like that, and creating from a creative aspect, I started doing things like other people. And then I said, wait a minute, wait. And that's when I came out with the self-empowerment, positive affirmation hip hop, because I was listening to a guy by the name of Jason Stevenson, right? And he does like guided meditations. So I started recording guided meditations like that and speaking like him. And well, he's from Australia, so I didn't have the accent, but I was speaking in the cadence like him. But then I said, no, let me create my own sort of guided meditations, but through the talent I already have, which is writing raps. So let me do that, and that's how I started with that.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing when you work from who you are, you know who you are.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say this to people too. It's okay to look at people and study people who you aspire to be like, but then, like you said, add your own authentic self to that. Just listen and don't try to copy, but there's certain things you can follow, because you'd rather follow somebody that's a success than somebody that's not. But at the same time, you can even learn from people that aren't a success as well too. So, and success.
Oh man, that's a whole nother segment. Yeah, you're 100% right about that.
Right, you can. Yeah, I've even learned from my unsuccessful self, at one point in failure types, self, which I don't look at it as failure anymore. I just looked at everything as a different phases of life, and I
it's like a learning lesson.
Yes. Yep. And as long as you do that and learn from those things instead of looking at it as, oh man, and dwelling on the negative and all that. No, you can grow. You can grow through what you go through. So it's amazing, man. So and this used to be real tough for me to say, but I can say it now with ease. It flows with ease now. I had to go through everything that I went through to get to where I am now. That's just the way it was, the way. Yeah. So I wouldn't be who I am.
Life is going to happen regardless, but you got to be prepared for it with the tools you have.
Right. And it's, it's not where you start in either. It's, how you finish. So where we are now. So it's amazing, man. But I enjoyed having you on today, man. And I just wanted to ask you before we conclude this segment, you want to leave us with anything?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, one thing I run into a lot is people have a lot of self-doubt in terms of what they want to do with their life. And and a lot of it is based on like things that happen in childhood or things that they feel like they quote unquote failed at. But I always say, and I'm going to keep harping on this, and I've said it throughout the podcast, but like once you understand yourself, you then start to find your own path and what you should be doing. But the key is everything starts with you first. So I tell everyone, whatever it is you're going for, make sure you find out who you are first, because history literally shows us that you have people who have achieved a certain amount of success or a high level of success, but then it comes crumbling down because they never found their foundation, never built on a solid foundation. And that solid foundation is you. So really deep dive and find out who you are first and then go forward.
Wow. Well put, man. I appreciate that. Thank you, Justin Rambo, for speaking your piece, your perspectives, your amazing, just intuitive, just story, just everything, man. And thank you. And before you go, how can people find you? Yeah, how can people find? We know
Right.
your
Oh, I
book.
forgot about that. My fault.
Yeah, your book is on
So,
Amazon, so we know that.
books on
And that,
Amazon.
what's
Yep.
the
And
title
then
of the
you can
book
find
again?
me. Turn Down the Noise.
Turn Down the Noise on Amazon. Go get it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. It's Mr.personal.development. And then the website is www.versatilesuccess.com. That's where you can find information on the Lost and Found program, my new confidence booster program, just a bunch of different things. And also the podcast is on the same website.
Okay. All right, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm certain that you are enjoyed this as much as I have. Thank you very much. Peace, love, happiness, prosperity to everyone. May it circulate in all areas of your life. Thank you. Enlightened, empowered, evolved. See you soon.